custom jewelry and earning millions of dollars every single year to ending homeless, these are 10 football players that went broke. From winning the Champions League in 2005 with Liverpool to less money than me. This is an achievement, I guess. John Honorisa was one of the best players who played for Liverpool, but the government doesn't care who you are. Man, they are taxing me like crazy. It was the same for John. It started when he could pay $150,000 in debt because of misunderstanding with his agent, but things only got worse. At the end, he was accused by his agent of a suspected $5 million fraud, so he went bankrupt. But what happens when your addiction destroys your life? With over 200 Premier League appearances for 5 different clubs, and with a lot of money earned, Keith Gillespie had a little secret. See, this dude gambled $7 million away, but not a lot of people understand why. So, Gillespie had to say something. In 2011, I was made bankrupt. I look at career earnings of $7 million, completely gone, and you sort of think, how can you do that? Embarrassment in terms of losing that money, being made bankrupt. I've got a family, divorced now, but that would have had a lot to do with it. In 2002, he won the League Cup with Sheffield United, but after all his Premier League years, in 2009, it was time to go back home. He signed with Glentoran and played for smaller clubs till his retirement in 2014. Today, he's doing good. He's working with the charity side Mindwell FC in Northern Ireland, a charity working on men's mental health in the UK. But luckily, his addiction is not deadly, like the next one. Like the other two guys, Paul Merson played in the Premier League, winning the title with Arsenal, and made a lot of money in his career. But when you got a lot of money, you have to stay smart, otherwise you'll lose it all. Unluckily, this was the case for Paul Merson. He was almost left homeless because of his alcohol and drug addiction. His problem cost him $3 million, but no one understands Paul really. He was involved in a divorce that was really hard for him. He was forced to sell his house in West Midlands to finance some problems. But luckily now he's recovered and works for Sky Sports. This dude coming from making millions to not even being able to afford Sky Sports. See, Emmanuel Eboué played 8 years for Arsenal, but nobody would ever think that this would happen to him. He earned $8 million in Turkey, and he told the reports that he signed everything that his wife wanted and sent $7 million home. So he was left with only $1 million. And I can speak from my experience that $1 million is not enough. Oh man, never mind, Emmanuel washed his clothes by himself because he didn't have a washing machine. He even worked on a farm to earn some money. In an interview, he said that he can't afford Sky Sports, so he went to a pub to watch the game between Arsenal and Everton. I covered my face and I went there, he said. I was surrounded by Arsenal fans, but they didn't know it was me. I would have felt embarrassed. I'd never been in a pub to watch a game. It used to be in my house or maybe at a friend's house. People know me. I played for Arsenal for many years. Before, I was high on the 3rd floor. Now, I'm on the ground floor. I can see that I'm going down. So, when they see me on the bus, I have to lie to them to say, no, it's not me. Yes, I have to lie. They said, you look like a Eboué, but I feel ashamed. I feel embarrassed. But today, he's coming back stronger than ever. He created his own football academy in Ivory Coast, and he's ready to help the younger players learn from his mistakes. Every sad story comes with a happy ending. In 2005, David James created his foundation to help raise awareness and funds for battling AIDS. He played over 500 Premier League games and earned $20 million. But how could this happen? In 2004, in Stan Collimore's autobiography, he wrote, if he had a new car and he pranked it, he would just go out and buy a new car. So, there were 5 cars parked in his driveway. If he bought a new pair of shoes and he scuffed them, he wouldn't clean them. He would just chuck them out in the spare room and buy a new pair. But if he was not spending his racks only on designer clothes, he actually used to pay members of the staff from the club who were unpaid and risking losing their jobs. He put a lot of his money into his foundation to help young people find jobs. Yeah, that's Paul Gascoigne. The highlight of his career was the 1990 World Cup. But sadly, drugs and struggles with alcoholism destroyed his career, and in 2008 and 2011, he went broke twice. He was $400,000 in debt. His friends said that he blew his $14 million fortune on drugs and failed businesses. The fact that he signed a $1.25 million a year deal in 1992 and some more millions from sponsors a year to becoming bankrupt is absolutely crazy. But in the end, Paul got his life together and paid off all his debt. But what's coming next will leave you speechless. From being the idol of every child to having been left with $7 in his bank account and ending up in jail, yeah, this is a story of Ronaldinho. Like, man, I even got more money in my bank account. But never mind, he's still Ronaldinho. He had the biggest sponsors in the world, like Coca-Cola, Nike, and even Footdos. Wait, what? At the end of his career, his net worth was about $100 million. But how'd this happen? Well, in 2012, Ronaldinho was 32 and his time in Europe was over. But we all know that Ronaldinho spent his money on parties, chicks, and cars. He went from $100,000 per week to $20,000 per week, but Flamengo didn't have that much money to pay Ronaldinho. So he had to move on to the next team. So he joined Fluminense, which paid him $150,000 a month, but they couldn't afford Ronaldinho as well. So in 2019, Ronaldinho was facing up to 5 years in jail, but luckily he could pay a $200,000 fine and return home. But did Ronaldinho have a whole airline? Yeah, Asamoah Gyan had his own airline. Like, damn, I have to fly with Ryanair and risk my life every time, and this dude could fly with his own airplane. This dude was driving around in a golden Rolls Royce, but, well, in the end he had $600 in his bank account. This post on his Instagram explains everything about his situation. Gyan earned $200,000 a week till 2012. He could buy a new Rolls Royce every single week. But in 2015, he signed a contract in the Chinese Super League and was making even more money. So, in 2017, he was so motivated to start his own airline company, Baby Jet Airlines. But unfortunately, things didn't look so good for him and the airline failed. But this dude was a great football player and earned so much money in his career that he can't be broke. He's a hustler, and the media is capping more than the rappers in my city. Imagine you're waking up with 30 bank accounts. Yeah, that's the story of Djemba-Djemba. This man just couldn't handle his money. At the time he played for Manchester United, he earned about $75,000 a month. He blew his money on 10 4x4 vehicles, not one, not two, but 10 of them. His old agent said that when he arrived at United, he managed all his 30 bank accounts, and he said that it took him 4 hours a day. But the problem was that all his money was going to repay his loans, so Eric lived just off his bonuses. But he said, "I have no regrets about anything in my career. It's football. God decides everything, but that's okay, because the next one ended deadly." We all know Diego Maradona and his life of partying, doing some white stuff, and his legendary career. This dude was something else. His cars, houses, and jewelry are worth more than $150 million. He lived this life to the fullest. He had huge contracts with Puma, and he was even the president of Dynamo Brest in Belarus, which earned him a whopping $15 million every year. But at the age of only 60, he had a heart attack, and he sadly passed away. The reporter said that at his death, he only had $75,000 left because a lot of his people around him took advantage of him and stole his money. Since we're already talking about money, I bet you'll want to know how this player spent $30 million on only one car.